Today's video is going to be based about a study that was done to see the biggest possibility of where COVID-19 actually started and how it came to humans. What's going on, everyone, and welcome to a new video in which we're going to be talking about where the experts believed coronavirus came from and what the newest studies are showing. Now, before we get started, I want to say that the studies I'm going to be talking about will be linked in the comment section below. So if you do want to read more on this subject, please go ahead and click on the links that I'm going to be providing. That being said, let's get started. I'm sure most of you are aware about what's going on in the world right now when it comes to the pandemic caused by coronavirus, otherwise called COVID-19. And this virus has been quite a controversial subject when it comes to where it comes from. Today's video is going to be based about a study that was done to see the biggest possibility of where COVID-19 actually started and how it came to humans. We have to be clear with one thing, and that is the fact that there's no solid evidence of one perfect source that everyone agrees on. Now let's get started with the number one place everybody is pointing their fingers at, which is in Wuhan, China, a wet market where they believe this virus started from. Now we have to be very clear with one thing, and that is the fact that there's not a single solid evidence that the virus actually started there and has caused the pandemic we are in right now. The most common theory at the moment is that bats already had the coronavirus, and through a host animal, the virus was passed on to a human. Now, at the moment, we believe that the host animal was a pangolin, which is an animal that is actually eaten by a lot of humans around the world. Now, that being said, the fact that Wuhan market sells both domestic and wild animals makes us think that it actually came from there because of the existence and the mix of all these animals in one small place. All that we know that actually connects the coronavirus to the Wuhan market is that several people who were actually infected in the beginning of this pandemic were actually somehow in contact with the Wuhan market, whether by working there or shopping there. However, there's a growing body of evidence that make us wonder whether or not the source of COVID-19 is actually somewhere else. We now know that none of the animals at the Wuhan market that were tested for the virus tested positive, and about a third of all the reported cases from early December 2019 had no connection with the Wuhan market, including the first ever patient. Now, around 10 days ago, scientists at the Scripps Research Institute published a genomic sequencing analysis of the virus that raised more doubts about it having originated at the Wuhan seafood market. They conclude that the virus evolved from natural selection, and this natural selection gives us two different possibilities. One of these two possibilities suggests that it actually evolved into its highly pathogenic form within humans, which means a less pathogenic form of the virus went from an animal into a human host, and then through an extended period of time it actually evolved by being transmitted from one person to another person, going undetected, in which case there's actually no reason to believe that the Wuhan seafood market had anything to do with the evolution of the virus. However, it is still possible that someone who was infected there actually passed it on someone else. The second possibility is what we're going to look into today because it really fits the description of the virus and the pandemic that we are in. This possibility basically suggests that the virus actually evolved into its current form while being inside an animal. Like many scientists, the scientists at the Scripps Research Institute are claiming that there's a big possibility that the virus went from bats into an intermediate animal host, and that's where it started evolving into what it is today. Now, the scientists are saying that the particular genetics of the virus indicates that the animal host that we're talking about has to have a high density of population because that's what helps it with natural selection, and also an ACE2 encoding gene, which is basically found on the lungs and the cells of humans and is the doorway for the virus to enter the human body. So now the million-dollar question is, which animal fits this criteria? Now, recently another study was published checking the most likely animal hosts for the virus, based both on their presence in Wuhan and having a human-like ACE2 that enables the binding of the virus. And the identified animals at the end of the study were civets, pigs, pangolins, cows, buffaloes, sheep, and pigeons. Many of these animals are actually industrially farmed in China, specifically civets and pangolins because of their use in Chinese medicine, and the speculations that they could be the reason of this pandemic has led the Chinese government to shut down more than 20,000 wild animal farms. However, not a lot of attention was given to other animals on the list, specifically pigs that are heavily farmed in China and have a huge mass population. Now, pigs are a very obvious candidate from the list that I mentioned before for several reasons. To begin with, pigs and humans actually have very similar immune systems, which means that makes it very easy for viruses to cross from one to the other, as it happened with the Nipah virus in 1998. In fact, our immune systems are so similar that researchers are first going to try the COVID-19 vaccines on pigs before starting it on humans. And they say the pig immune system shares significant similarities to that of humans, so good response to a vaccine in pigs will help to predict the success of vaccines for human use. Another thing to mention is that 3 years before the COVID-19 outbreak started, tens of thousands of pigs died in 4 factories within 100 kilometers from the site where SARS began in 2003 because of a coronavirus that was passed from bats and pigs. Now, this coronavirus strain, which is called SADS, S-A-D-S, was actually found to be 98% identical to the one that were found in horseshoe bats in a nearby cave, which obviously shows that coronavirus strains have passed before from bats to pigs. Now, luckily, transmission to humans didn't occur. However, laboratory tests showed that it could have been possible. Now, the state where Wuhan is located is one of the top 5 largest producers of pigs in China. In the past decade, small and medium-sized farms have been replaced with factory farms where hundreds of thousands of genetically uniform pigs are confined in high densities. Obviously, these places become a perfect breeding ground for pathogens. So many scientists have been talking about the dangers of animal farming and how they can cause pandemics. This is not the first time in history that animal agriculture is leading to such a huge human health disaster. Going from the coronavirus to the swine fever, to the bird flu, to the Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome, to the SARS, to the mad cow disease, all these issues come from eating animals. Now, even if eating animals did not cause any health issues to human beings, animals should be respected as other beings who we share the world with, who do not exist on this planet for us, but exist with us. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. The conclusion is that the newest research is pointing the fingers at pigs instead of other wild animals that are actually sold in the Wuhan market, mainly because none of the animals were tested positive at the market, but also because a lot of people who were initially infected by the virus had never visited or had ties with the Wuhan market. Now, from that point on, scientists were checking what other animals could have been the host of the virus, and the most logical one they could come up with as a theory were pigs. One, because the virus showed that it actually needs a very high density of population for it to actually evolve, and 2, because pigs have a very similar immune system to humans, which makes it very possible for the virus to go from animals to humans. I hope you enjoyed this video. To finish, I just want to say that this video has nothing to do with the ethics of eating animals when it comes to animal rights. However, I do really hope that you care about that as well. If not, and if you only care about humans, then maybe you should stop eating animals. That is causing so many pandemics and killing thousands of people around the world. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section below, and tell me what you think about the recent study and what the scientists are saying. If you want to support my work, please go on my website and check out the support page, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.